Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we're going to be discussing peak state and what I think about living in an ideal state 24/7, 365 days per year. So, if you've been watching my content, you're familiar with law of assumption, law of attraction, law of reversibility, etc., right? All of these metaphysical laws are wonderful. Once you understand them, you can implement them to rapidly shift and permanently make changes to your reality from an unseen realm that will manifest itself. How cool is that? So, when we think about states, many times they're broken into health, wealth, relationships, and the macro topics that people generally want to have resolved, right? That cause the most pain. So what I want you to do is take a step back for a moment and consider what your chronic normal state is, just your base state. You could put this akin to your dominant mood. How do you feel a majority of the day, right? So one thing that has been revolutionary for me is understanding what a peak state looks like for me on an individualized level. Everything from how I feel in the body, how my cognitive performance is, how my response times are, my mind-body connection, all of these different aspects that I have found when are optimized make me feel my best, right? How do I feel just on a day-to-day basis from a chronic mood standpoint, right? How do I inhabit a state of feeling really, really good all the time, right? That's what I consider a peak state. So when you look at creating your own peak state, you want to figure out what you decide as feeling your best, right? Does that mean that you have tons of energy every day? Does it mean that you're sharp as a tack mentally? Does it mean that you're articulate with your vocabulary? Does it mean, a host of different things? And there are infinitesimal options and combinations of which you can design your own ideal peak state to live in. So my thought process, and this is all done in the Spartan 1 program. So if you watch the video, you'll get a little bit from the free training, but as you go further into it, what we work to discover is what is a peak state for you. When is a time in your past where you have felt really, really good? When is a time when you achieved something or you had validation from something and you're like, man, I'm just on top of the world? How do we isolate that feeling state and then download that into the subconscious to be the norm for your daily experience? This is life-changing, because what happens is if you think about, say you're an addict, right? And you're like, I need cocaine to do anything I want to do, because unless I have it, I don't feel very good. I need to feel really good, so I need to take this thing to feel good, right? That's a conditional state dependent on something external to you. So when you design and decide what your ideal peak state is, and then you continuously identify with, deny states that are not that, and reinforce that through repetitive affirmation and holding and feeling states, you will begin to inhabit your ideal feeling state 24/7, 365 days a year. And the massive amount of life satisfaction and energy that flows from being in a peak state is exponential. Because when you feel good, you want to do things. A majority of time when you don't have something or you're not doing something that you want to do, it's because you don't feel like it. There's either a conscious block or it's just a feeling state attached to it that sucks. Because why would you do anything that makes you feel not that good, right? So by downloading into your mind what a peak state is and instructing your body and yourself the goalpost is to feel good all the time, and then exclusively identifying with that will begin to build not only the neural pathways, but also the identification association with a version of yourself that always feels really, really good. And when you feel really, really good, you magnetize to you things that are akin to your vibration, because your electromagnetic field is directly programmed through what you think and feel. So if you have an ideal state that once again, is not decided by me. It's not me telling you what the ideal state is. I can give you some macro things, like I feel really healthy, I have a ton of energy, my cognitive function is off the charts, I'm super smart, super sharp, I keep getting better and better and better, right? So you have these macro things. But for somebody who maybe has, had low energy their entire life, changing that peak state to being a version of yourself that has a lot of energy is very, very useful, because you identify with it and it begins to manifest. And the thing is once it's permanently locked into that identification association, you will default to that state, which is a huge thing, right? Doesn't mean that you're not going to get knocked out of it every now and then, but you want to have your orientation point at that peak state, because lots of people have their orientation and default setting to depression or anger or expectation of bad results is a really big one. Having negative expectation of things, right? Oh, they called me. It just means, they're going to ask for money. So you have to decide that that's not your ideal state, and then you categorize it in the way that you would want to have it, right? So the way that this works is you basically take out a piece of paper. In the Spartan 1 program, we call it a codex, right? You have your own codex. And what this is basically an identification that you're going to identify with against everything. So whenever you have a tummy ache, or whenever you feel hungover, or whenever you have brain fog, you go, no, I am in peak state 24/7, 365 days a year. Your brain then flags what you have on that piece of paper as peak state. I have abundant energy. I always feel great. I'm at a biological age of 18 to 25 years old. I feel incredible. I heal faster than Wolverine. My brain operates like this. Your brain now has a tangible of what peak state is for you specifically. So now you have a target that you can hit every single time. So you're not going off into these states that feel bad. You start to feel depressed, you go, nope, I'm someone who's in peak state 24/7, right? And you disidentify with the thoughts and emotions that are not in alignment with your ideal. And the best part is you don't have to have everything worked out, but what I do recommend is thinking about times that you have felt the best in your life, right? Have you ever just had a day where at the end of the day, you're like, dude, that was freaking awesome, right? You can take that freaking awesome and you can take that and put that into your peak state. I feel like I did on this day, chronically, dominantly, 24/7, 365 days a year. Now, it won't happen overnight, because remember, everything that you inhabit from a state base is pushed out. So as you detach from the old states, those will get pushed out as they're released. So you just have to have the internal discipline to continuously re-identify, reaffirm, and think as if you're in that state 24/7. And once you start to do that, you actually morph yourself into a version that feels freaking awesome all day. And with that abundance of energy, that feeling good state, you have way more potential because you want to do things, right? If you wake up and you're like, man, I would like to start a business, but don't start a business, because your heart's not in it. But if you wake up and you're like, dude, I'm feeling awesome, right? Like I can do anything I want to do. This feels amazing. Dude, everything I do is successful, right? You have that type of energy. Now you've got a battery plugged into your socket that's viable. You're not working with an iPhone that's on 4% all the time. You're working with 100% charge, fully healthy, fully there, fully ready to roll, feeling just legit, right? So you want to take control of that dominant mood and make it your own, right? And this is amazing because you can customize it however you want. My peak state doesn't have to be your peak state, but the process is the same, right? Designing, deciding, and figuring out what the best version of you feels like on a experiential level every single day, and then re-edifying it every single time you come into contact with something that is not your ideal, allows you to solidly identify with that thing in the same way that you identify with your name. Someone comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Jason," I don't respond to that. My name is Jacob. So if I have peak state 24/7 and I get a bad emotion that, is telling me I'm worthless or not feeling good, I go, no, I'm in peak state 24/7. My subconscious is locked onto that ideal and is now defending that state in the same way that somebody who has severe depression would defend that depressive state due to the default of them reinforcing those habitual thought and emotional patterns to where they are now ingrained and easier to default to than feeling the way that they want to feel. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out the link tree for coaching. If you do want to do the Spartan 1 program, just watch the video before signing up so you kind of know what it is. We also have the Inner Conquest 12 Disciplines course as well. Comes with 6 different coaching options or 6 hours of coaching. And you can check that out in the previous video, which is also on the link tree along with all the other coaching and things of that nature. The most important thing that I have to say today is go conquer, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.